everyone, it's Karen. Okay, I apologize if there are bits of mascara places they shouldn't be, but I just got back from a massage and I don't really care too much. So yeah, that's how this is. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the reading that has been done this week from basically last Friday until today, Thursday. So here's the thing. It's been a good week for reading, but just a weird week in general, I would say. So feel like I just want to talk about the transition going back to work. It was horrible. It was just like nothing happened. It's just that transitioning from being on break to having to be a grown-up and work again is usually a struggle for me. I'm not good at those type of transitions. However, normally it takes me a day or two. It took me 5 days to get rid of the gloom and like the what am I even doing with my life, and I just want to be at home and I just want to be on my couch reading or doing yoga or hanging out with my mom or hanging out with friends or traveling somewhere cool. Like basically I wanted to do everything except work. However, I finally snapped out of it like 5 days later, so it took me a bit. I think maybe one of the reasons it took me a bit is because of where I am or where I was in my cycle, and also because of what was going on with astrology. But anyway, I do want to quickly talk about my cycle, so I do apologize for anybody who is watching and doesn't care about that. But if you have been watching me and maybe don't know this, I basically rearrange my whole life based on where I am in my cycle, and it's all tracked in my calendar. And I specifically schedule certain things during certain times, or I will delete things during certain times. So Friday through Monday was like my winter. So I purposely did not make myself do anything besides go to work, and then that's it. So the vlog clips this week are really boring because I didn't do extra yoga I didn't do yoga until Wednesday. And I didn't really do anything above and beyond in any area of my life besides the bare minimum. And so, yeah, that's why the vlog is a little bit boring. And also I was just kind of in this grumpy funk sort of a thing. Not really grumpy, just I didn't care about anything and I didn't want to do anything and whatever. Anyway, so with that being said, it did impact my reading a little bit, in that I just wanted to comfort myself. And for example, Friday I had cramps. So after work, I literally put on these new headphones that I have that I should show you. And I just was completely zoned out on the couch, covered with a blanket, just listening to a book. And I just did that for hours without moving. And that's not normally how I live my life. I love listening to books, but I just don't do nothing for hours listening. And yeah, that's what happened. So the book that I read, I think I borrowed from the library, and it was Run Towards the Danger by Sarah Polley. I think it's Polley. And it was so good that I decided to buy it because it needed to be part of my collection. So I do own it now, and I don't count this as reading from my shelves, even though I do own it now. It's kind of like a neutral situation in my opinion, because I finished it on audio, just listened for hours and hours and hours. And then I needed a hard copy because I'd like to have all the books that I have read and absolutely loved on my shelf. So I will talk about this for a hot second, but this doesn't count as reading from my shelves since I purchased it afterwards. Basically, I have heard about this book on so many people's channels. I would say the one that finally made me go over the edge and read it was Lindy, but so many other people also talked about this book. Essentially, this is the story, not a story, but a memoir and essays, I would say, of Sarah and her life basically as a child actress, as somebody that's very into art and activism and being a mother and just like all these areas of life that I'm just like really interested in, kind of stepping into someone's shoes and hearing about their life. But there was some combination of words that Lindy said about it that finally was like, not just from, yes, I'm going to read this, because I had checked it out in physical format from the library before, but like, oh my gosh, I know who Sarah is. So, basically, when I was a child, my family would tape like VHS, they would tape shows from TV, and I would watch them over and over and over until they got like the tape got bad and there was like weird squiggles and stuff that weren't there to begin with. What I didn't realize is that Sarah was in one of my favorite TV shows as a kid, which was like a mini series, Ramona. Like Sarah was Ramona. So as an adult, I probably should know who Sarah is because I should, but I don't pay attention to films. I don't pay attention to directors and writers and producers and all that crap. Like, I just don't know, right? I just don't know about that stuff. But when I realized that Sarah was Ramona, which is this show I was obsessed with as a kid, I was like, this needs to happen. I need to read this. So it was so interesting to kind of rediscover her as an adult, hear about all the trauma that she's had as a child working in like the TV and film industry, and just hear about her life in general, like as a person. Yeah, I just really, really liked it. And it also made me go back and find the Ramona show, like on YouTube. You can go and watch old episodes. So I watched episode 1, and it was just really interesting and nostalgic for me to go back and watch the first episode because I remembered everything that happened. I didn't realize that all those things that happened were together in the first episode. That part I didn't remember. So it was fun to watch in that way. And it's also fun to watch because, like, I'm probably the age of the parents now in that TV show. But, like, I've watched that show so much as a kid that every part is vivid. Like, I can tell you all the things that are going to happen in the future episodes, even though I've only rewatched episode 1. And I do plan to watch the others. But anyway, let's just stop with Ramona. One of the things that I didn't realize was how connected that I would feel to Sarah. So our lives are completely different. She grew up in Canada. I grew up in the United States. She was in this whole like movie business that I know nothing about. I hardly even watch movies, right? So our lives are very different. But one of the things that I found connected us, even though it connected us in our experiences were different, I guess, was like childhood trauma. She dealt with a lot of stuff as a kid, and I dealt with a lot of stuff that was different, but still trauma and still abuse and still like not good situations. And what I loved about this book was that both of us have used this trauma and turned it into like this beautiful light and brightness in our lives. So my trauma as a child has turned into me purposely working with children so that I can empower them to like believe in themselves and to feel confident and to like just absolutely fall in love with themselves as a human being and like realize that their strength and weaknesses like make them who they are, and that's like a beautiful, beautiful person, and that their strengths are gifts, their weaknesses are gifts, and just to be like proud of who they are and to realize the unique opportunity they have as individuals to make a huge impact and just to whatever, I don't know, be important in our world. And like for me, that trauma has turned into me having kids in my class and them starting the year feeling like absolute shit about themselves. And just a few weeks into the school year, they are so confident. They radiate confidence. And I don't know if I would be able to teach in the same way if my childhood wasn't the way it was. And in addition, I'm really good at like sensing like the vibe of situations and stuff like that. That helps me with behavior management, which I would not be so aware of if I wasn't in situations previously where you have to be aware of where everybody is emotionally and everything, or things are not going to be safe for you. Anyway, that is getting too much into it, but I just thought it was cool how her trauma turned into activism and my trauma turned into teaching. I read that book. I read another book that was recommended by Hannah in her top books of the year. I was underwhelmed with it, and it was a library book. So I've literally read no books from my shelf this week. However, I am still quite proud of myself because there are going to be weeks where I literally read nothing from my shelf. Like, I want to still be able to go to the library. I want to still be able to do things and mood read and whatever. And also give myself grace if there's a week that I'm just not feeling reading. And that was not this week because I was listening, but you know. So I started the year with 585 books. Last week, I ended with 570, which is a decrease of 15 books. This week, even though I did not read anything from my shelves, or finish anything from my shelves, I should say, I still had like a major decrease because I am unhauling and just trying to make sure that what's on my shelves is like legit what I want to read. And I keep like unhauling more and more each time because like Dee Dee recommended that I kind of go through my shelves and check for books, and I was like, I already do that. Like, I already want to read everything on my shelves, but I think that this is just motivating me to like make further and further cuts and like get rid of books that like I am interested in reading. I'm just not as interested in reading. Anyway, this week, week 2, I started with 570 unread books on my shelves, and I ended with 522. So basically, through a mixture of unhauling and finding like repeat books that were entered on Storygraph more than once, I decreased my number of unread books that I own by 48. So that means that from the start of this challenge until now, which has only been 2 weeks, I have decreased my TBR by 63 books. I'm like so pleased with myself. With that being said, I do have a haul. Now, this haul does not consist of, well, this haul mostly does not consist of books that I have purchased this year. I will show you 2 books I purchased this year, and the rest are books that I purchased before this challenge started and that have come in since January 1st, but were already accounted for in my original count of 585 books because I had already ordered them and I knew they were coming in. So the book that just came in today from Parnassus's first edition book club, which I am not ending my subscription for because I have been subscribed for years and years and years, and it's one of the greatest like pleasures in my life, is In the Upper Country by Kai Thomas. This one, as always, it comes with a note, often from Ann Patchett, and then it's signed. This one says, in the 1800s, a Canadian town settled by... Oh, sorry, rewind. This one says, in the 1800s, Dunmore, a Canadian town settled by people fleeing enslavement in the American South, young Lucinda Martin works for a crusading Black journalist. One night, a slave hunter is shot dead by an old woman who recently arrived. When the old woman refused to flee, Lucinda is tasked with gathering testimony before she can be condemned for the crime. But the old woman doesn't want to simply confess. Instead, she proposes a barter, a story for a story. So begins the extraordinary exchange that reveals the tapestry of interwoven histories, challenges Lucinda's notions of the past, and suggests that the old woman may carry a secret that would shape her destiny. Traveling along the path of the Underground Railroad from Virginia to Michigan, from the indigenous nations around the Great Lakes to the Black refugee communities in Canada, In the Upper Country weaves together unlikely stories of love, survival, and familial upheaval that map the interconnected history of the peoples in North America in an entirely new and resonant way. Oh my gosh, I'm here for this. That sounds so good. I've not heard of this book. So I'm just really excited to read that. So that one just came in today. And then I've already told you that I purchased Run Towards the Danger, but this is kind of a neutral purchase for me because I have already read it and I just wanted to add it to my collection. So the books that have come in that are already accounted for but are still part of the ones where I'm setting aside and I have to read through these before I purchase a new book, like go to the bookstore and purchase something new. Orpheus Builds a Girl, Glister, A Summer of Drowning, Under the Skin, The Opposite of a Person, The Therapist, The Wolf Border, Pew, Nothing to Envy, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, Independence, One Day I Shall Astonish the World, and finally Ashland and Vine. So yeah, lots of really good reading to do. So that brings me to my plans for next week. So my plans for next week, I have nothing on my agenda after work besides like going to yoga, and I think I have a library meeting one of the days. Besides that, I have loads of free time and I'm ready to read lots and lots. So this was my original plan. It might change after I've read the synopsis of this book because now I really want to read this. But my thought is I have been watching Heather from Saki Expat Book Nerd like conquer her library TBR by reading the shortest books that she has from the library up through her longest. And I'm curious if that would work for me if I did like a shorty sprint and for 1 week read my shorties and read them basically from the shortest on up and just see how many I can just plow through and destroy. Because I think it would be amazing if in January I just like smashed my TBR, like go big or go home, like let's get this done, and just maybe get it down to 500. Like, do you think I can get it down to 500 by next week? I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I will check in with you next week, and I'm so excited to watch your videos, see what you're reading, see how your January is going, because I'm not the hugest fan of January, and I found out that in December, Michigan, where I live, got 5 minutes of sunshine the entire month. Like, it is a struggle here, and you guys just comfort me and make me feel all warm and cozy, and I am excited to see what videos you guys make this week, and also, like, let's just together get loads of reading done. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.